Hi, I'm Carl Lanning from Brazos River Charter School with This Week in History. We took a couple of weeks off because of the Christmas and New Year's holiday. I hope you all had a great Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I know we did. Well, specifically, the week is January the 5th through the 11th. So, first of all, on January the 7th of 1999, President Bill Clinton's impeachment trial officially began when the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court swore in the U.S. Senate to act as jury. Clinton had been impeached on two charges, perjury of a grand jury and obstruction of justice. Now, as you know, probably, in order to convict the president, you have to have 67 of 100 senators vote guilty, 2/3. The final vote on both charges was pretty much along party lines. Okay, if I can find that. It was 45-55 for perjury and 50-50 for obstruction. So it didn't really go anywhere. On January 5th of 1972, President Richard Nixon signed legislation that eventually led to the creation of the Space Shuttle. Now, the first shuttle was built without engines and without a working heat shield. It did have the proper amount of weight distribution in those places because what it was meant to actually do was test its atmospheric flight characteristics. Remember, it was supposed to actually glide back down and land. Also, to test the carrying method atop a 747. One astronaut was asked to describe the flight characteristics of the space shuttle, and he said that it had the glide characteristics of a brick. So apparently you pretty much just kind of aimed it and hoped. Now, the first shuttle was supposed to have been named Constitution because it was going to be unveiled on September 17th, 1976. September 17th is Constitution Day. 1976, of course, that was the bicentennial. But tens of thousands of Star Trek fans started a letter writing campaign trying to convince the president to have NASA change the name to Enterprise after the starship on the fictional television series. Now, no doubt also many of the engineers that worked on the shuttle probably were Trekkies themselves. I have no idea whether President Ford was a Star Trek fan or not. However, I do know that he served aboard an aircraft carrier during World War II. The name Enterprise is an almost holy name in the United States Navy. So he did get on the phone with the director of NASA, and the name was changed to Enterprise. Apparently, Ford's words were, you know, I'm a little partial to the name Enterprise. Now, among the VIPs that were present were the main cast characters of Star Trek. This is Gene Roddenberry, he was the creator. And of course, then we have Dr. McCoy, Mr. Sulu, Lieutenant Uhura, Scotty, Chekhov. If you notice, William Shatner is missing though. Shatner in 1976 was kind of trying to distance himself from the character of Captain Kirk, and so that's probably why he didn't come. We honestly really don't know. But in 2011 though, he did record the wake-up call that was played for the shuttle astronauts on the very last day of the very last mission of the flight of the shuttle Discovery. It was a modified version of the introduction to the old television show, Star Trek. You know, Space, the Final Frontier, and he changed it up a little bit. The astronauts apparently absolutely loved Captain Kirk calling to wake them up. And then on January the 8th of 1815, the final battle of the War of 1812, most popularly called the Battle of New Orleans. You've probably heard the song. At 1814, we took a little trip. Well, this is it. This battle was actually fought about 2 weeks after the war had been settled. The peace treaty had been signed in Belgium. But because of the time, word had not reached the Americas yet. There was an 8,000 strong British force clashed with a 5,000 strong American force of American Army, militia, there were pirates, there were paroled criminals, free black men. Basically, if you could carry a musket, you got handed one. It was an amazing American victory. About 330 Americans were killed, wounded, or missing. About 2,200 British, including the British commander Pakenham, or Pakenham, I'm not sure exactly. Edward Pakenham, though. He was a really, really big man back in the UK. His brother-in-law was the Duke of Wellington, the man who defeated Napoleon at the Battle of Waterloo. And so they really wanted to give him the proper burial. So in order to preserve his body, they put it into a cask of rum and shipped it back across the Atlantic. One British politician who didn't particularly care for Pakenham quipped that the general had departed America in better spirits than he arrived. Well, anyway, that's it for this week in history from Brazos River Charter School. However, next week, we'll find out exactly what it was that Uncle Sam had against dachshunds. In the meantime, I'm Carl Lanning, this is Brazos River Charter School, and we look forward to seeing you right here next week.